So this is the bag of clips that we showed you earlier. We want the bigger clip, which is this guy here. That's gonna be the one for the dash. The rest of them back in the bag until we need them. So what we want to do is go ahead and grab this out of the crossover box. On one end, it's going to say mid and tweet. On the other end, you're just gonna have two terminals here that are designed to slide onto this. I'm gonna go see where I can mount this real quick, but then we'll go ahead and we're gonna solder these together. We don't need a connection, and then more connections. So we're gonna eliminate as many connections as we can to make it serviceable, and this is definitely one we need to get rid of. But let's go see where we're gonna hide this guy. So in the dash, there are the holes. This didn't have a factory speaker, so there's this clip right here that is for the speaker. Now, Alpine gives you plugs that are gonna plug into this, but what we wanna do first is test to make sure that this wire goes behind the dash. And to do that, we'll use our digital multimeter, set the continuity. We'll go ahead and put one probe into this harness, and then we'll go over to the dash and meter speaker wires, and we'll listen for that beep. Set our meter to this guy right here, the lines. And that's telling us that this is going behind the dash. So this is actually in the loop. So we're good there. We can use this. We'll go ahead and we're gonna feed this out here to this area for right now. We have a bracket that the speaker comes with that'll line up with the factory. And then the little Alpine back here can go right into that. Now what we want to do is just get an idea. We want to make sure we see where these go. These are the leads. We want to make sure they're not in the way of anything. Even though it's nice to have the Alpine logo facing in a specific direction, we also want to make sure that we're not shorting the speaker out to anything. And actually, if we go up to this area here, that would probably be our best. Go ahead and make sure that the Alpine logo faces up. We'll just verify that we don't see it through the grill so that it won't be an issue there. So this is a rather large crossover. It will fit perfectly fine here in the corner where the A-pillar meets and slide forward and tuck up out of the way. So we have plenty of room here. That means we can go ahead and shorten up our wires on all our connections. And of course, we'll check the driver's side when we get over to the driver's side. Let's go head over to the bench and get this all buttoned up. Now for the mid, we're just gonna leave that the way it is because that's just gonna slide onto the speaker. So we'll just go ahead and insulate up the wire. The tweeter is another story though. The tweeter has like 4 feet of wire on it, and we're definitely not gonna need. We'll go ahead and shorten that up for sure. And for that, we're gonna go ahead and still put a connection in there. We're gonna use our bullet style connectors. And what we'll do is we'll put them backwards so we have a female and a male on there. That way, when we go to put the tweeter in, it'll only still go in one direction. All right, now what I wanna do is go ahead and plug everything in just like it was in the car, and we're gonna go ahead and do a polarity test right now to make sure that everything is going in the right direction. Alpine might want this differently, I don't know, but we'll go ahead and check it out and see if they did any mysterious stuff to this. So we're gonna use our PT9A here. Now it has a microphone in the end of it, so you can easily just do this. However, I don't always trust it, so we're gonna go ahead and use our polarity checker here. All right, so that is red over here, and that is red, so they're both moving the same polarity. So they're both in polarity with one another. That's good. Now we'll go ahead and screw this together, get these in the car, get the crossover in the car, and get ready to snap this back in place. We're gonna go ahead and get these screwed into the brackets like we said. Now inside the box here, taped into it, is the bag of 8 screws. So you don't have to worry about missing those. Now it is a number 1 Phillips, not a number 2. Don't try to use a big drill bit, you'll just strip them out. And they are excessively long for what we're trying to do here. Put your thumb over it just like this while you're screwing it in. That way if the screwdriver falls off, because it is the number 1, you don't have to worry about it poking the speaker, it'll just damage your thumb. All right, so these 2 guys are wired up. Let's go ahead and take this over to the dash. We'll get the crossover installed. I just want to see if it fits with the terminals facing down, just because my OCD is telling me that's the way I want it. And it doesn't seem to be touching anything, so we're going to go ahead and mount it that way. Now the only problem is since there was no speaker up here, that means there's no screws, so we're going to have to find some screws. to screw this guy in. And the other thing too is he just had his windshield tinted, so we want to make sure we're real careful with that. Alright, so the mid-range in, we want to make sure we keep our tweeter wire up so we can plug that guy in. Alright, so we're going to put this back in. Go ahead and plug your speaker wires in first. Now if you forget to plug this back in, you can still reach it up underneath the dash here. Start in the center and work your way towards the outside. Alright, so once you're in the corners, push it this way, snap it down, go back over there, push it that way, snap it down. This clip here is the one that's going to be difficult. Well, let's take a close-up look, shall we? So there we go. That's what it should look like in the dash. Nice flush, has that silver look to it. And the other side will look the same. Now I will say, when you're going to put it in, because of the way this tweeter is mounted, it sits right above this clip, and the wire for the tweeter runs straight down. It wants to get caught up into this clip as you're snapping it in place, so just be conscious of that and push that tweeter wire back out of the way so you don't have to worry about getting it pinched into the clip. Now we can go ahead and we're going to put this A pillar back on because we don't need it. We'll leave that one off until we get the Bluetooth mic in, and then we'll put that one back together. Let's go back over to the workbench. We have the rear speakers. We're going to figure out how we're going to mount those. Now Alpine doesn't make a 4x6 anymore. I thought they did, my bad, but they do make a 4-inch that comes with a 4x6 plate. Let's go see what we're going to come up with for that. Now because it is a 4-inch instead of a 6.5, we are going to need some kind of a base blocker, so we'll probably go with like a 47 microfarad cap on those. The amplifier has a high pass filter, but it's still nice to put the cap on it just to be safe. Yeah. What we want to get to is hidden in the bottom of the box. So inside the box we get these guys here. These are a 4x6 adapter. Allows us to turn our 4-inch into a 4x6. We also get this stuff here. This is actually foam. Alpine has been putting this in their 4-inch, 4x6, and 5x7s for years. Basically like a inexpensive version of a fast ring. It's to mimic the same foam that these have on them. What we want to do is go ahead and check this if it fits, or are we going to have to make a whole new mount. I didn't take the camera over to do the test fitting. Alright, so that's a big no on these. These are not going to fit. But if you have a 4x6 mount and you want Alpines, you can use these. We're going to use these to get this hole size though. What we need to do is make this shape now. So to do that, we'll go ahead and we're going to remove this because we don't need it. We're going to cut some plastic and see what comes of it. Now anytime we do a speaker for the first time, we like to make a template. So we'll go ahead and get our basic size here. Making a template, we like to make them out of white if we have it. This is a 1/2 inch piece of blown PVC. It just looks better on the wall. We can see it easier. So when making a copy of the speaker, we want to set it like this on here to do that. But we want to countersink it in, so we're going to go ahead and cut a hole in this to make room for the magnet. So we also had to drill a hole to clear the speaker plug. So now we can go ahead and set this guy on here, screw it into place. So drilled a little hole right here so that we can fit an additional drywall screw in there to hold it down. So now let's go ahead and take it over to the router and we'll router this bad boy out. So we have the basic shape that we want. We're going to go ahead and drill this hole, and then of course we're probably going to have to knock this portion of it off here. We just wanted to make sure we copied it as close as we could to start out with. Alright, let's go ahead and take this over and see how this fits. Alright, so this fits really well. The only thing we're going to need to do is remove about 1/4 inch of this away. We'll drill another hole here, and what it'll do is it'll screw in here and here. So we'll put a threaded rivet down here, that way we can attach it. We're also going to have to add this foam that it comes with here to the actual back side, because the reason why this foam is here is you can see if you look at it right here, you see how this dips in right here. This is in and this is sticking out a little bit further. The reason why it's like that is because there's a gap in this between this area here. So we'll put regular foam here and we'll put thicker foam here. That way it'll marriage up really nice with that. See, so that's that height there. And we'll go ahead and make them out 1/2 inch too. That way it'll move it out into the panel a little bit more, because this speaker actually is about 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit more, plus the tweeter. And then with this and that, it'll put it about where it needs to be. All right, I'm gonna go cut this off and router out 2 more of these so we can get these into the car. Alright, so we went ahead and planed down where the screws are going to go here on the top and also on the bottom. Now we're going to go ahead and get our hole for our 4-inch here in the middle. And for that, we'll use that 4x6 template. So we went ahead and screwed it on like we said. Let's go ahead and router this guy out. Alright, there we go. We have our speaker adapters. Now we can go ahead and get our 4-inch put in them. There we go, there's our 2 new speaker adapters. We're gonna go ahead and put some foam on the back. Alright, so we have all the foam on both of the speakers on the front and on the back. We have our speaker wires that Alpine gives us. Now what we want to do is go ahead and grab the white wire here, and we're going to add some 47 microfarad caps onto them so we can have a little bit extra protection than what the onboard crossover is going to give us. And just wrap your wire on the cap and then go ahead and slide it down into place. Alright, once you get it soldered on, go ahead and snip off these extra little legs. Now what I like to do at this point is go ahead and tape these up, and then I'm going to put some heat shrink over it just like Alpine did. There we go, our 4-inch / 4x6 mount are all set and ready to get into the car. All we have to do now is drill the holes for these to go into, put the rivets in, and we can get these plugged in and back in business. I'm gonna step over to the car right now. It's a really hard place to get to, so I'm gonna drill the holes first and get it all set, and then I'll bring you guys over and you can take a look at what we did. All right, let's take a look at this speaker here. Factory screw goes in there. We went ahead and drilled a rivet in here and screwed this in. As you can see, there's not a lot of room to work in here. This panel just covers it up like this. And this is as far as the seat comes forward, so you have to like lean in and drill. That's why it was just really hard to see. So one done there. Fernando's also got the amp mounted underneath the seat, and he's already ran the wires. So like he said, he made a bracket that followed the seat rail. He screwed that back in, and now the amplifier is mounted up underneath there. All the wires are going through the factory hole over here and run out to the front. So the amp is secure and all set. The fuse holder is mounted up and out of the way, attached to the side of the truck there. And of course, the wire is zip tied along with the factory wiring harness and into the firewall. We put some strip caulk on the hole so we get no water into the car. So now that this is done, Fernando's gonna move to the back of the car and start working installing the handle cam. One thing that we, like you always go through all your products and look at everything first. And in this case, like we said, we're gonna use the LCGM. Now it's a smart harness, but it's the dullest smart harness they make, meaning it doesn't have anything other than the wrap and accessory power. So things like parking lights or dash illumination, the orange white wire, or reverse trigger, the purple white wire, they aren't on this. To get that, you'd have to go all the way up to the RP5, which is going to give you Bose integration, OnStar integration, steering wheel integration, and clearly this car has none of that. So it's like this huge gap between the two. So what we're going to do is, while he's in the back running the camera wire, we're also going to go ahead and tap the illumination, which is going to be the parking lights, and the reverse, so we can get him back there. Now, if you want to get him in the car, the BCM, body control module, is where you'd find the reverse wire. It's up mounted on the firewall. And then for the parking lights, it's telling you have to go out to the power distribution center underneath the hood, or of course go to any light. So we're already back there. Just makes sense. Just get it back there. We're already at. We'll solder into it. That way we don't have to go searching through the car and do all that nonsense. So that's where Fernando's at. So while he's in the back working on the camera, I'm of course going to get started on the radio. And since he's back there and not in the cab, I'm gonna start removing the brackets so we have the hole in the dash we need for our radio.
All right, so the first thing we wanna do is we're gonna take this tab out. For that, we're gonna use a T15. All right, so now this handle only has two 10 millimeters. And that's it. So basically this is like two hooks. You push it and comes like this. Also, you have to remove these bars, that's for the locks. So let's go to the bench and swap the lock.